Hi, and welcome back to the channel. I'm the pool professor, and today we're going to talk about all things salt cells. We're going to talk about how to maintain and clean your salt cell. There's a couple tools you're going to want to have for the different types of salt cells, and these are products we sell in our store. This is for a Hayward cleaning cell. This is for a Jandy. And then this one is for Pentair. And today we're gonna do a Pentair cell on the job, and then I'll show you how to do the other cells also. First and foremost, you wanna make sure that the equipment is turned off. You can do that by turning off the breaker. Next, I like to use these. This is a Husky tool that's made for oil filters and PVC. So this makes it a little easier to take the cell apart. Okay, so you want to inspect it. This one's pretty clean, but we're going to go ahead and give it a light acid wash. So the recommendation is muriatic acid, and you mix it 4-to-1. We're actually going to use a product today that's a non-fuming acid. It's called magic acid. It's a little gentler, so it's easier to take care of, especially for a homeowner. We're going to use some gloves, safety first. So magic acid, we're going to use it just like we would regular muriatic acid. Like I said, it's less fuming, especially women that are taking care of the pool. They might like this better. It's not going to burn your hands or your eyes, although you should always use gloves and eyewear. Okay, so 4-to-1. You should always put your water first. So I'm going to take a bucket. I'm going to put 4 cups of water. 4 cups of water. And then 1 cup of magic acid. You should always pour acid to water, not water to acid. Now, I'm gonna take my cell stand, screw this onto the bottom of my salt cell. Okay, so I'm actually gonna take this salt cell after I have my cap on it. I'm gonna put it in a bucket just in case we leak. And then I'm gonna take my acid mixture and carefully pour it. And then I'll pour it into the cell. There we go. Just over the cell blades. And then we'll let that sit usually 5 to 10 minutes. After it stops bubbling, then we'll dump it out and rinse it. We're gonna take that acid mixture that's been bubbling. Now that it's stopped, we're gonna dump that out. We're gonna dump this acid that we're not using. And then we're gonna rinse. Now we have fresh water. And we're just gonna take that and rinse the cell. And I like to dump it back in my acid bucket. And then we can take this cap off now that it's clean. And then we can reinstall. You wanna check the flow. Make sure the flow is going the right direction. On this one, it goes up. And these should just be hand snug, hand tight. Okay, now that we're done, we'll go ahead and turn the system back on, whether that's turning on the breakers or turning on the filter pump. Check and make sure we don't have any leaks, and then check and make sure our salt cell is working properly. Okay, this is a Jandy AquaPure salt cell and chlorinator, and we have removed this completely from the system. There's usually a flow sensor here. Jandy actually recommends that you remove that. When you bought the salt cell or when you purchased the salt cell, it came with this cap, which we would put in here and tighten down. And then we use the cap that we sell in the store, and it has an O-ring in there. You wanna make sure that's in the right place. And then we tighten that down. If you look into this cell, it is really calcified. It's definitely been neglected. In our area, well, every salt manufacturer recommends you check them quarterly. In our area, I recommend you clean them quarterly because we have a lot of calcium hardness in the water and a high alkalinity, high pH. Now, I'm gonna put it inside a bucket. Once again, we're gonna use a 4-to-1 acid mixture. So that's 4 cups of water to 1 cup of acid. There's our 4 cups of water. We're gonna add our 1 cup of muriatic pool acid. And see how that one's foaming? That one's fuming and the magic acid didn't fume. So that's the advantage to the magic acid. You wanna get just over the blades. So we added the acid 4-to-1 mixture in there, and what's happening is it's reacting with the calcium, so it's gonna eat away that calcium and clean that cell. Hopefully this cell is still usable. Because it's been neglected, it might have ruined the plates in the salt cell. So we're gonna wait until that stops bubbling and then we'll rinse it, and we can do it again just to make sure. The manufacturer recommends never leaving it over 30 minutes. So this is a Jandy True Clear cell. Actually, it's supposed to be clear here so you can see through and see if it's got buildup on it. This one's really simple. It doesn't need a special case or anything. We're gonna take a bucket of water. We got 10 cups of water in there. We'll add 1 cup of acid. That's the recommendation for this cell. Acid to water. This one, they actually recommend putting in upside down so that any air bubbles, you won't catch any air bubbles in the lid and you can see it foaming there. And we'll just leave it up to a half hour until it's done foaming. So we've let this cell sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. We're not getting any more bubbling. The recommendation is to rinse it. So I've got a bucket of water. I'm just gonna rinse it off real good. And then we're gonna inspect it, and it actually looks pretty good. So nice and clean. We'll put that back in our system and the salt cell will be ready to go. Okay, so on the Jandy salt cell, we've let it go until it stopped bubbling. We're gonna go ahead and dump out this acid, and then I'm gonna use some fresh water to rinse. And I actually like to rinse the whole outside of this one in case I spilled anything. And then you can take a look inside this cell and see the difference. We can take a look inside that cell and see all the difference. This is a Hayward turbo cell that we're gonna clean. I like using the Hayward salt cell stand that we sell. So the recommendation on this is to have the cord up. In the directions, it says you can submerge this in a bucket to this point, which is about the top of the blades. But I like to use the cell stand, and then that way I can fill it up over the blades and I'm not gonna hurt where the cord is attached. I've got my acid mixture, and this is a 4-to-1 is what Hayward's recommending. So we're gonna let that bubble clean itself, no longer than 30 minutes. So come back and check on it. So we've let it sit about 20 to 30 minutes. We're gonna dump it out. It stopped bubbling. We're gonna dump that out, and then I'm gonna rinse it with water. And then we're gonna inspect. So if we take a look on the inside there, looks nice and clean compared to what we had before. Then we can return that into the system, turn the system on, and we're ready to go. So after you're done cleaning your cell, the best place to dump the acid is back in the pool. Should always do it in the deep end, away from the skimmer, close to a return if you can. And then rinse the bucket. If you're having trouble with your salt system building up a ton of calcium, you're keeping your pH and alkalinity in balance, there's a couple chemicals you can use to help. This one's by Biodex. It's called Salt Protect. You add it to the pool and it helps control that buildup on the salt cell. And then this one's by Easy Chlor. It's called No Phos Metal Magnet, and it helps with scale also. So it'll help keep the buildup on that salt cell down to a minimum. So a couple products we like. There'll be a link in our description. Thanks for joining us for everything salt cells, for how to maintain and clean the salt cell. All the products that we used will be linked in the description. And if you like this and found it helpful, like and subscribe.